life, amen, to Bishop Gregory. It's almost intimidating to preach in front of the Prince of Preachers. Y'all think I'm exaggerating. For those of you who have not heard him, this man is a preacher. Hallelujah. And I believe it was, what are we in, 2018 now? It had to be 20 years ago when I first met him and heard him preach. I haven't preached it here yet. He preached 20 plus years ago, and I never forgot that sermon. It made such an impact. But he preached, when God puts you on hold, don't hang up. And once upon a time, I tried to even preach like you. I found out I couldn't do it. So I just decided to preach like me. Yeah. When I first started preaching, under the late Bishop A. Liddell Thomas Sr., he preached somewhat like Bishop Gregory. And man, I was his adjutant at the time, and when he would finish preaching, he would be wet from head to toe. And as a young man, I thought that if I didn't preach like that, I wasn't preaching. So I mimicked him for years. And then one day I found and discovered Jvon Hearn. And you know what? You know what? I like it. Praise the Lord. So we're going to preach today, and we're going to preach today, and I believe that by the time I'm done, you will be blessed. Amen? And I don't say that out of arrogance, because it's not my word that's going to bless you, it's His word. Praise the Lord. To all these preachers, and God bless Pastor Chris Gregory, and congratulations on the installation. Praise the Lord. I do honor Lady Gregory in her absence, and another Lady Gregory here. And all these preachers' wives, if your wives are here, God bless you. I honor you in your respective places. And I would certainly be remiss if I didn't honor my own bride. Yeah. Baby, please stand. Let them see you. Praise the Lord. That's my wife. Amen. 27 years. Yes. God's been good to me. Yes. Blessed us with 2 children. Brittany's not here. Melanie's in the back. Praise the Lord. So glad to have her with me. And all of you, I have to talk just a little while to get my nervousness down. Family Worship Center, thank you so much for coming. Praise the Lord. I tell them often, whenever I go someplace to preach, I heard the late Bishop J.O. Madison say it the first time, but I've heard others say it since, that a leader without followers is just a man taking a walk. And so, Family Worship Center, thank you for not letting me take a walk today. Family Worship Center, why don't you stand? Let them see you. Praise the Lord. God bless our choir today. Thank you. Praise the Lord. God bless Brother Tim. Thank God that he made it back from Birmingham without getting a ticket. He had to take his daughter to the airport, and he rushed back to be here with us. And thank you so much. And I have been guilty of being long-winded, but I'm not going to do that today. So the Lord has given me a message, but if He cuts me off someplace, I'll just cut off when He say cut off. Amen. If you will, 2 Chronicles. And what a special day it is today. Pastor Chris, I hope it's all right. Can I call you Pastor Chris?
Yes, sir.
What a blessing today. What an awesome service. And listen, to have your big brother to install you, what an honor.
Amen.
What an honor. And to have mom out here to witness it. So many mothers would love to see their sons in church. And you, Mom, not only have them in church, but they're pastors and bishops. That says a lot about you. Because you trained them up in the way that they should go. And now that they're mature, they have not departed from it. 2 Chronicles 20 and 20.
Yes, sir.
I call it 2020 vision. Now, I have a few other places I'm going to go before I come back to there and close, but verse 20 of 2 Chronicles chapter 20. Very familiar story to most church people. Verse 20 says, and they rose early in the morning and went forth into the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went forth, Jehoshaphat stood and said,
He did so.
Hear me, O Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem.
Yes, sir.
Believe in the Lord your God, so shall ye be established. Believe his prophets, so shall ye prosper. This is the word of the Lord to the people of the Lord. You may be seated. By the way, Elder Dunn, God bless you. Elder Dunn, go way back with him. I was a little fella. We were in church together, and we were kids. And after church, we'd all be out there throwing the football and throwing the baseball around and playing basketball. And this grown-up running around out there like one of us. And I remember those days, but he could do all the things that we did, but he wasn't a kid. And so we thank God for you, Elder Dunn. Praise the Lord. Believe in the Lord your God, so shall you be established. Believe his prophets, so shall you prosper. I want to talk today, since this is a anniversary and a pastoral installation. My topic today is my pastor. Who is he to me? Who is he to me? And this is a personal reflection question, because you can be in a church and that pastor is not your pastor. Just because we have the title pastor doesn't mean we pastor all the people. And it's an honor for someone to say that's my pastor. Yeah. So at Family Worship Center, I taught there, and I say, listen, if I'm your pastor, when you see people, don't tell them that's the pastor of our church. If I'm your pastor, say that's my pastor. So that's important, and I hope to explain that later. But my pastor, who is he to me?
All right.
In troubled times, some people call all kinds of folks.
You all right?
But who do you call? I know we can call on the Lord. And we teach that, call on the Lord, because you may not always be able to get me. But his line is,
Never. You preaching.
and if he puts you on hold, oh, there you go. Y'all praying for me?
Yes, sir.
Who is he to me? Jeremiah 3, 14 and 15 says that he is a man after God's own heart. Listen to the word here. He says now, God is talking to Israel through the prophet Jeremiah. And he says, "Turn, O backsliding children, saith the Lord, for I am married unto you. And I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion." Verse 15 says, "And I will," but now I'm reading out of the King James, but I think it's the NIV says, "Then I will. I will give you pastors according to mine own heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding." So first of all, who is he to me? Your pastor comes from God.
Yes, sir.
God tells us his criteria for leadership when he promises through Jeremiah that he will give the people shepherds or pastors after his own heart.
Yes, sir.
If you remember, this same description is given to David in 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse 14, after Saul was rejected for disobedience. God says, "But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought him a man after his own heart.
Yes, sir. Preaching, sir.
And the Lord had commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee."
Wow.
The text says, "I have sought a man after mine own heart."
Yes, sir.
What does this mean? God says these shepherds, these pastors, they're to lead his people with knowledge and understanding. This kind of leader doesn't develop automatically. Sometimes you see what your pastor does, and putting sermons together is work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hearing from God is work.
Yes, sir.
Watch this. Listening to God
Yes, sir.
is work.
You preaching, sir.
So this kind of leader doesn't develop automatically. Some people think that the preacher get up and open the Bible and pop goes the weasel and out comes a sermon. No, it takes hours of prayer and study.
Yes, sir.
And if your pastor is not, this is okay if I walk a little bit?
Yes, sir.
If your pastor is not allowed time and space to stay in the face of God, then your pastor really has nothing to say to you. We must remember we are God's people. We're the sheep of his pasture. I'm just an under shepherd. And so the only way I have a right to talk to you is if I first talk to God. And then God tells me what to talk to you about. That's why sometimes you can sit in church and it looks like the pastor's reading your mail, and you think somebody's been talking to him. No, nobody's been talking to him. God's been talking to him, and God knew exactly what you needed. And he knew exactly how to give it to you. My pastor, who is he say to me. So doesn't just develop automatically. Most seminaries, and I'm not against seminaries, I went to one. But most seminaries still struggle with providing practical, usable tools for men and women they are prepared for pastoral ministry.
Right.
And the reason I think they're struggling to prepare men for pastoral ministry is because pastors are not made in the seminary. God calls pastors. And if God didn't call you to pastor, no seminary, nowhere can prepare you to do what God didn't tell you. See, God can give you what the seminary can't. Y'all praying with me? Pastor after God's own heart must possess the ability to relate to others. You know, listen, some folks had to struggle just to come to church. So I know we want them at church all the time for every service, but you don't know what it took for me to get here every day. You don't know what I had to deal with just to walk out of my house. You have to relate to people. You must possess a heart and the ability to communicate, to delegate. Pastor can't do everything. And you shouldn't want him to do everything. Sometimes they do more than they should do because they can't find somebody who will do. I'm not trying to get on anybody's toes, but God put you here for a reason. And it's not just to sit in that soft, comfortable chair. There's work to be done, and we must work the work of him that called us while it's day, because when night comes, no man can work. Yeah, hallelujah. We must delegate, and then we must motivate. And watch this, we must confront when necessary. No need in being a pastor, you afraid to correct somebody. Well, that's one of my big tithe payers. I know it's wrong, but sometimes it's so. No. When it's necessary, pastor must be willing to confront wrong. God sends the pastor. Some of us were sent. You got it. Some folk just went. But we must relate to others. We must communicate. We must delegate. We must motivate, and we must confront when necessary. Pastor after God's own heart must have the ability to train and develop others. You know, one of the things about training and developing people, you have to be an example. You can't train people on what you don't do. Brother Marvin, I'm going to run out here. This is when you run out. He must have the ability to train and develop others. And one of you may not know this, but one of the best ways to train is by example. You may never sit, you may not sit them down in a formal setting and say, do this 5 easy steps to being a profitable person in the church. 5 easy steps to being a good member. No, you may not necessarily get that, but if you pay attention to your pastor, is he on time for church? Does he come to church?
Does he come to church?
Yeah. Does he give? Does he tithe?
Yes, sir.
My pastor, who is he to me?
You preaching, sir.
He must have the ability to train and develop others. You can stand up in front of the church all day long trying to raise an offering, talking about tithe. You can read Malachi all day long. You can read Luke 6 and 38 all day long. Bring ye all the tithe into the storehouse. Give and it shall be given unto you. God loves a cheerful giver. And you not giving. And you wondering why the offering is so small. He must have the ability to train and develop others. He must have the ability to cast vision. He must have the ability to plan strategy, direct teams, and empower others. Ain't nothing worse than an insecure leader. Don't want anybody to get credit for anything but him.
Yes, sir.
Because I say, my pastor, who is he to me? See, these things help you appreciate the pastor that you have. And I know you got a great bishop, and I just met him, but I know the stock he came from. So I know you got a good pastor that was put in place today. Great. Thank you, sir. Great pastor. You must have the ability to cast vision, plan strategies, direct teams, and empower others. Without a vision, people will perish. Pastor has to be able to project out in the future, see what everybody else can't see, and then motivate the people to get in their place until they can see. See, Nehemiah in chapter 8, he said, and all the people gathered themselves together as one man before the water gate. See, when you gather together, I found a little analogy. When you gather people together, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It can be 1,000, 100, or 500 pieces, but you can take a jigsaw puzzle and all the pieces are gathered inside the box. Anybody can see that. But the pastor has vision that the pastor can see how every one of those little pieces fit together. And when the pieces begin to come together, the people then begin to see the vision. But until you get in your place, you will never see the vision. So pastor must have the ability to cast the vision to cause you to see what you can't see. That's why he's standing on the wall. He's standing above you because he can see what you can't see. Somebody say, my pastor. Who is he to me? And if you notice now I'm shifting it, but if you notice in Nehemiah 8 and 4, it said, and Ezra, the priest, he stood on a pulpit of wood. The pulpit is designed to pull people out of the pit. It's not designed to put people in bondage. See, pastors, shepherds, they carried a staff with them. And the top of the staff had a little curve up top. And when the little lamb would fall into the ravine or fall into a hole or fall into a ditch or somewhere, the shepherd would take that staff, turn it upside down, and reach down and pull the sheep out. That's what the pulpit is all about. When you come in here, down and out. God sends a word from the pulpit to pull you out of the pit. Hallelujah. That's why you need a pastor. My pastor, who is he? To me. See, why is it important for you to know? Listen, he could reach that staff down there and you're running from it. But if he's my pastor, I know he means well for me. I know I can trust him. He's God's man. God sent him to me. And he's looking out for my soul. He's watching over my soul. Hallelujah. So then, who is he to me? He's a man after God's own heart. Yeah. And God put him behind the pulpit so that God could speak to him. And his word can pull the folk. Now this word pulpit was used again in Genesis chapter 11 when they were building this tower. The Hebrew word is migdal. In Nehemiah, that's the only place you're going to find pulpit, but it's tower. And they said, let us go to build us a city and a tower that will reach up to heaven. Same word, tower, pulpit. But look what God did with the pulpit. God said, I don't want the pulpit necessarily to reach up to heaven, but the pulpit is the place where heaven reached down to earth. And so when the preacher is in the place of God, hearing from God, he's getting the word from God to give out to the people. My pastor, come on, my pastor. Who is he to me?
Wow. Yes.
So who is he? The man after God's own heart.
Yes.
Who is he to me? He's the one who brings the word and calls the people to understand. He brings the word and he causes the people to understand. You know, sometimes when we're full of ourselves,
Help us now, help us.
we want you to know we've been to school for a day or two. And we use these 50-cent words that you don't even know the meaning of, trying to impress somebody. And by the time you finish, nobody knows what you said. You don't even know what you said. Sometimes you hear people that can talk so good, you just want to say what they say. Bishop Gregory would remember this, but there was a bishop. He was the presiding bishop of the Church of God in Christ. His name was Chandler David Owens. God rest his soul. That man had a voice. I mean, he just sounded good. Whatever he said, he just sounded good. And when Bishop L.H. Ford died, Bishop Ford was the presiding bishop, and Bishop Owens was first in line after him. And he said, now, some of the folk wasn't happy with him. And he said, some folk are trying to figure out what to call me. And he ran off a line that I remember this, Pastor Gregory. My wife and I laugh about it sometimes. He said, I hate to capitulate this to the low rung of repetitious, monotonous redundancy. And boy, he could put those words together. But my pastor Who is he to me? He's one who brings the word and causes me to understand. Everybody say, I can understand. Let me tell you, so one of the highest compliments I received, Bishop, was I preached my first sermon in 1994 in Fort Hood, Texas, Killeen, Texas. And there was a little girl. She couldn't have been no more than about 5 or 6 at the time. And I went back years later, and she's a teenager. And she says, I remember you. And let me tell you, she articulated my sermon. Wow. Amen. Now I'm not trying to say I'm anybody. I'm just who I am. But if you can preach a sermon where even a little child can understand it and remember it and apply it. See, that's one of the things why the pastor has to be able to communicate. You have to know your audience. He's one who brings the word and calls me to understand. The wise man Solomon said in Proverbs 4:7, he says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And in all you're getting, get understanding. Now I say this sometimes because we like to mimic things we see in church. And we think certain things give us more power than other things. I hope I don't get in trouble with this, Bishop, but this thing with tongues, folk put so much emphasis on, I believe in tongues. But I believe in tongues as God gives us. And so people, we put so much emphasis on that, and we'll have people trying to practice. Practice speaking in tongues. And they'll wait till the appropriate time in service. See, we've been to church, so we know how to have church. We know when to stand up. We know when to lift our hands. We know when to say, praise preacher. We know when to say, glory, hallelujah. We know how to have church. But if you're running around speaking in some kind of tongues and you don't understand, because somebody say, stop speaking in tongues and go get some understanding. See, the preacher, your pastor don't mind explaining things where you can understand. See, some people don't understand why you give. So if you're giving your money and you don't understand, Lord knows we need the money for the church to operate. But if you're giving your money and don't understand, stop giving your money and go get some understanding. Because here's the principle behind that. If you give it and you don't understand, you don't know how to receive the blessing from it. Because it does this give and it shall be what? Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Shall mean give it to your. But with the same measure, it shall be. Why you get what the preacher said give? It's good to obey the preacher. We're supposed to obey those who have the rule over you. Uh-oh, I'm going to turn a curve. But now you got to come to Bible study so you can understand. We preach in Sunday morning. We preach a lot. But on Bible study, we teach. And I don't know why it is so many people don't come to. See, preaching, we need preaching. I'm looking at somebody and say, we need preaching. And y'all got a pastor that can preach. Well, no, both of them. I know you can. He can preach. Preaching is designed to bring you out of the world. But see, you got to come to Bible study for teaching, because teaching is designed to bring the world out of you. See, it doesn't finish when you come down here and give your hand to the preacher. Now you got to sit down so you can be taught something. Now that I'm saved, I need to learn how to live like a saved person. So preaching is to bring you out of the world. Teaching is to bring the world. And then also, Preaching is designed to get you to believe something. But teaching is designed to get you to learn something. In all you're getting, get understanding. We need to understand. So who is he to me? He's the one who brings the word and calls me to understand. Nehemiah said in 4 and 6, I believe, 8 chapter verse 6, he says, it calls the men calls the people to understand the law. Right. Calls the people to understand by way of revelation. Everybody say revelation. Revelation is to reveal or uncover that which was once unknown or not seen. You ever sit in church and your pastor is preaching, and the scripture you've been reading nearly all of your life, and all of a sudden you say, wow, I got it now. I see it now. It's like the light came on. Somebody say that's revelation. And then verse 8 of that same chapter, Nehemiah chapter 8, the people said, now that we have received revelation, there has to be an application. You have to be able to apply what you've learned. The reason why some people don't have an application is because of their perception of their man of God. Everybody say, my pastor. Who is he to me? Now, perception is the ultimate reality, but not necessarily the ultimate truth. See, as you perceive something to be in your mind, that's what it is to you. That doesn't mean it's truth. Sometimes we listen to what people say and we create a perception, and that thing becomes real to you. Your prosperity is connected to the pulpit ministry of your pastor. Your prosperity is connected to the pulpit ministry of your pastor. He brings the word and he brings you your faith. Romans 10:17 says, so then faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Who are you hearing it from? You're hearing it from the preacher. So he brings, look at your pastor, whichever one of us is. Say, Pastor, bring me some faith. Yeah. Faith comes by hearing. But if the devil can mess with your perception, he tries to mar or blemish your perception of the man who is bringing you the revelation. You ever wonder why the devil doesn't care about me as a person. He's afraid, if you will, of my mission. And if he can get you to see me other than who I am, then I'm of no use to you. So he tries to blemish your perception of the man who is bringing you the revelation, because if he can mess with your head based on what is being said out there, or public opinion, everybody say public opinion, then he can affect your perception of how you receive from the Lord. Listen, these deep people trouble me. They can't receive from anybody, supposedly, but God. I don't need no man. I listen to God. That's why you ain't hearing nothing. See, you have to learn how to listen to God through God's man. Yes, God can speak to you. But that's why he put this office up here, so he can talk to you too. You want to know why you're in the pit? You ain't receiving the man of God that he can pull you out of that pit. Some people are not getting anything from the Lord. Because their perception of the man of God has been marred or blemished. And that hinders their ability to receive what thus says the Lord. I might have to cut off here. How am I doing on time? How am I doing, baby? Some people are not getting anything from the Lord because their perception of the man of God has been marred or blemished. And that hinders their ability to receive what thus said the Lord. Because they're listening to what people are saying out there. The world is never going to say anything good about your pastor. I bet most of you can finish it. That preacher just wants your money. See? And so when the preacher stands up on Sunday morning and is making the appeal for the offering, see, I told you. The devil said, I told you that's all he wants. So you got to stop listening to folk out. Is there any wonder that Jesus asked his disciples, but who do you say that I am? Because sometimes we listen to the wrong voices. Jesus had asked a question. He had entered into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, and he asked his disciples this question: whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? So in other words, Jesus was asking, what's public opinion about me? Yes, sir. And at any time, listen, sometimes we get a little cocky and we say, I don't care what they think about me. Well, I do. Yes, sir. I care what they think about me. Yes, sir. Because if they don't have the right impression and perception of me, they're never going to come in and hear the word. Right. It's not the word that people have problems with, it's the people. So any wonder he asked his disciples, but who do you? Now I know what they're saying out there. Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? Some of them said you're John the Baptist. Some of them said Elias or Elijah. Still others said Jeremiah or just one of the prophets. Jesus said, okay, now that I know what they're saying, whom do you say that I am? Yes, sir. See, you ought to have an answer when somebody's talking about your pastor, all those preachers wanted your money. You ought to say, not my pastor. Whose report? Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? They said. Some said thou John the Baptist, Elias, or Jeremiah. But who do you say I am? Peter spoke up. Right. The cusser. The fighter. The ear cutter offer. Listen, Jesus was talking to all 12 of them. But only Peter spoke up. But listen to this. Jesus had preached the same messages to the other 11 that he preached to Peter. They saw the same miracles. They were all there when he fed the 5,000 with 2 little fish and... They were all there when he called Lazarus from the grave. Not the hospital. He let him get to the grave. And I believe it was intentional that he let him get there because they called Jesus the first time and he told us, well, he just sleeps. That's right. Yes, amen. And then later he told him, he said, no, he's sleeping and I must go awaken him. He said, Lazarus is, then finally just made it clear to me, he said, Lazarus is dead. And I'm glad for your sake. They were there. They heard Jesus when he called them. But see, Jesus waited because some of them, look at it as public opinion, was that when a person goes to the grave, they had 3 days, Evangelist Sanders, that any time in that 3-day period, the spirit could re-enter the body and the person would revive. But on the 4th day, all hope was lost. your situation when it's too late. When other people think it's all over, Jesus walks right in. And he calls you by your name. He said, Lazarus. Now, why didn't he just say come forth? He had to be specific and call the right person. He had to call Lazarus, because if he had just said get up, every one of them would have got up. Come on, somebody shout hallelujah. So they were there when he called Lazarus from the tomb. They were there when he healed the man at the pool of Bethesda. He had been there, sitting there for 38 years, waiting for the troubling of the waters. He said, every time the water gets troubled, because I'm lame, somebody always get in before me. Jesus says in essence, I don't need that explanation. I just have one question. Wilt thou be made whole? Lord have mercy. They saw that. They were there. They were there when the woman with the issue of blood touched his garment and was healed. You know what I say? They were there. So when he said, but who do you say I am? All 12 of them should have stood up and shouted at the top of their voice, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus would have told all of them, Blessed art thou. He could have called all 12 names. Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah. Flesh and blood didn't reveal this unto you, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter upon this rock. What rock? The truth that Peter just spoke that. Thou art the Christ. Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. On that truth, Jesus said, I will build. And he said, the church that I build, the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. They all should have said that. Get somebody, just shout, Thou art the Christ. Thou art the Christ. See, this is what a pastor does for you. Come on now. Who is he to me? He gives you the word with understanding. Yes, sir. I don't know where I am on time. Pastor Bishop, do I have a few more minutes?
Ask your wife.
Thank you, do I have a few more minutes? Thank you, baby. Y'all, I got a good wife. I got a good wife. I mean, find this text. Believe, ever say believe. Believe. In the Lord your God. In the Lord your God. So shall ye. So shall ye. Be established. Be established. Believe. Believe. His prophets. His prophets. So shall you prosper. So shall you prosper. Now, let me just quickly bring you what that came out of. Jehoshaphat the king had gotten information that Moab, Ammon, and Mount Seir were mounting an attack. Yes, sir. That's right. Yes, sir. And he knew. Before I do that, now, listen. When Israel came out of Egypt, they were strong. Yes, sir. And you know what God did? God made them bypass. They were running through everything. God made them bypass Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir. And now the very ones that God led around them, they're trying to destroy Judah. Yeah. Isn't it amazing that sometimes the person you help the most? Come on, sir. Your pastor prays for you. Yes, sir. All right. Yes, sir. Come on. Your pastor buries your dead. Yes, sir. He marries your children. Yes, He preached out of his heart to you. How dare you join in with public opinion and listen to them talk about your pastor? Just shout and say, not my pastor. So they realized, Johnson said, now we have no might against these people. But, Lord, I want you to know one thing. Our eyes are on you. And Jehoshaphat called the people together to seek the Lord. And then the Spirit of the Lord came upon the prophet Jahaziel. Lord have mercy. He said, now, I'm gonna kind of summarize it. He says, now, you have no need to fight in this battle. All you need to do is stand ye still and see the salvation of the Lord for you. See, and then what did Jehoshaphat do? Jehoshaphat, listen, all of us in the military. Jehoshaphat didn't go get the cavalry. He didn't call for artillery. He didn't call in an airstrike. He got some singers. He got the praise team. Somebody that could praise the Lord. Come on and shout to him in just a little while. Give me praise in the house just for a little while. Hallelujah! 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 Now, when I first started reading that, I thought they were praising God because he gave them the victory. But I read verse 20 for you. Verse 21 says, and when he had consulted with the people, he appointed singers unto the Lord that should do what? Praise the beauty of holiness. So in other words, the highest thing about God is he's holy. So they praise God just because he's holy. It wasn't because of what he had done. They were praising him just because he's God. They didn't praise him because he's good. They praised him because he's God. He is God. And there is none like him. There is none. If that witness to you, just shout hallelujah. Hallelujah. Listen, I don't want to be guilty. Y'all sit down for a minute. I don't want to be guilty of being too long-winded because I got to establish a relationship with Pastor Chrissy. He can invite me back to preach again one of these days. But in the text, and I'm going to close. I was going to define them, but I'm not going to define them. But in the text, he used 3 words in that text. In chapter 20, verse 20. He says, believe. Everybody say believe. Believe. And then he said, believe. And then the next key word, believe in the Lord your God, so shall you be established. Well, who are you going to believe? Then he said, believe his prophets, and so shall you prosper. So the 3 words that I would have talked about was believe, prophets, and prosper. Believe, prophets, and prosper. See, the power of your pastor is that he's not just coming out here speaking to you on his own word. He's speaking for somebody. He's speaking for God. And if you believe what he says, you ought to say amen. 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 Yes, sir. Believe, profits and prosper. How many of you want to prosper? A lot of times when we hear people talk about prospering or prosperity, first thing that comes to people's minds sometimes is money. So to think money, when you talk about prosperity, it's not incorrect. It's just incomplete. Because prosperity is a whole lot more than money. It's a whole lot more than money. John said in 3 John 2, verse 2, he says, "Beloved, I wish above all that thou mayest prosper and even..." That's why you need a pastor. Because he's going to feed you with the word. He's going to make it where you can understand. He's going to lead you to a place of prosperity. And he's going to help you get places you never thought you'd be. Hallelujah. So say it one more time. My pastor. Who is he? To me. If you love the Lord and you love your pastor, stand up and give the Lord a big thunderous round of
Wow. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, you just heard from God. I promise you, if you ever heard from him before, you just heard from him then.